The European Commission has taken legal action against Hungary, objecting to recent reforms, including changes to the central bank, retiring judges, and a controversial media law that many say threatens the independence of the country's journalists and broadcasters. Hungary's government says it's working with the European Commission to address its concerns, but it's defended itself against accusations that it's becoming increasingly autocratic and risks backsliding on democratic values. It comes against a bleak economic outlook for the country. Its credit rating has already been downgraded to junk status, its borrowing costs have topped 9%, and its currency, the forint, has reached record lows against the euro. It's trying to negotiate a €20 billion line of credit with the EU and IMF, but both say there can't be any deal reached until concerns over Hungary's laws are resolved. I spoke with George Schopflin, a Hungarian Fidesz MEP. I began by asking him if the Hungarian government was still committed to European democratic values.
Let me put it this way. The Hungarian government is absolutely committed to this, and I think we demonstrated this during our presidency. Obviously, there are people in Hungary who are somewhat Eurosceptic, but this doesn't apply to the government and the ruling party.
Nonetheless, José Manuel Barroso has said that he doesn't want a shadow of a doubt on respect for democratic principles and values to remain over Hungary any longer. That's a fairly damning indictment of the Hungarian government's policies, isn't it?
You could certainly say that. I think you have to separate out two things here. One is politics, and the other is the law. The Hungarian position is that the infringement procedures which the European Union has launched can be settled relatively simply and straightforwardly through negotiation. And Hungary is ready to accept whatever the European Commission actually says on this. On the political side, it's very difficult to know exactly what the Hungarian government should do, given that there are no clear criteria. What do they mean when they say democratic values?
The Commission has said that, in particular, the new law on the central bank, they say, is going to compromise potentially the bank's independence by allowing a Fidesz-appointed new deputy governor to be installed. They're objecting to data protection laws, and they're objecting to judges being made to retire, and the concern being that the courts are going to be stuffed with Fidesz appointees. Aren't those specific and valid concerns?
I think these are separate specific issues. On data protection, all that is happening is that the structure of the existing data protection system is being not substantially, but to some degree reorganized. It's nothing more than that, and Hungary is fully committed to complete data protection. The second one is the independence of the central bank. Now, my understanding is that basically there's agreement now on everything except for whether or not judges have to take an oath of loyalty to the Hungarian constitution. As far as appointing another deputy chairman of the Monetary Council, the socialists did this back in, I think, 2005, and nobody batted an eyelid.
One of the criticisms that's been made is that the Orbán government in Budapest appears to be centralizing more power.
Well, again, it's, I think, very largely to do with the fact that they don't read Hungarian. The data are there. Now, as far as centralization is concerned, they really should actually look at the new local government law, which is about quite substantial decentralization and converting many of the state processes to the local level. Actually empowering localities against the center. So where this centralization business comes from, I simply don't know. The judiciary is an interesting case, because here I think what is happening is that Hungary is bringing retirements into line in all spheres, and this does bring down the age of the judges. No question. The European Commission has raised a question mark over it. Whether that question mark will stay in being, we'll see.
But they've done more than raise a question mark about it. They've actually launched infringement proceedings against Hungary.
To get excited about. There are well over 2,000 infringement procedures taking place at this moment. I think I'm right in saying that Spain had about 60 launched against it last year. Hungary only had 14.
Let me ask you about one of the more controversial laws, which is the media law, pretty universally condemned by international organizations, including
Universally condemned by the media.
Well, not just the media. Organizations also in NGOs, including Reporters Without Borders, Amnesty International. There was widespread opposition to this law within Hungary. Also, there were demonstrations against it.
Widespread is an exaggeration. There is opposition to it. It's not widespread.
There were large-scale protests against this.
Sure, there were also large-scale protests in favor of the government last Saturday, which the independent media has not reported.
Let's talk about the specifics of the law. The law creates a single media authority called the Media Council. That council is responsible for appointing the heads of public broadcasters. It can impose fines. It interprets regulations. Its members are all appointed and are all Fidesz appointees.
They are also independent experts in their field.
But nonetheless, they're all experts who have links to Fidesz.
Well, then it's a question of which you believe is more important, their political position or their expertise. Most people in the world, certainly in Europe, have political positions.
I think the criticism is actually not so much that there are members of the board who have links to Fidesz or are conservative leaning in terms of their political orientation. The criticism seems to be that they all are Fidesz appointees.
Okay, can you name a single case where the Media Council has done something which in any way would cause some kind of infringement on the independence of the authority? It's been going for over a year now.
There was the case of the license of Club Radio, which was being revoked.
And there be actually, Club Radio has specifically said that their frequency is not theirs forever. They have to bid for it. They did make a bid, and the bid was not a good one.
Hillary Clinton, the U.S. Secretary of State, wrote to the Hungarian government specifically mentioning the case of Club Radio and saying that she had concerns about that.
Well, maybe she did. If Hillary Clinton or anybody else wants the Hungarian authorities to break the law, then they should say so.
The Latvian president has said that Hungarian claims that the media law mirrored those elsewhere in Europe were largely untrue and that the government would be wise to change it.
I'm sure the Latvian president reads Hungarian terribly well and knows all the media laws in all the other 26 EU countries. I don't believe it.
Let me come on to onto another issue. The political reality is that Hungary needs a loan of 20 billion euros, which it's been negotiating with the EU and IMF.
Can I just correct you? Hungary needs a precautionary line of credit, not a loan. Well, they are very different.
So Hungary has been negotiating this line of credit with the EU and IMF. The EU says that these negotiations will not resume until Hungary amends its laws on the central bank and the others that we've discussed. And you're confident that the government will do essentially whatever the Commission deems necessary.
Well, that's what the Hungarian government has been saying, but nobody seems to be listening.
Dr. Peter Bajomi-Lazar is a senior research fellow at St Antony's College, Oxford. I began by asking him if he shared George Schopflin's view that the political affiliations of Media Council members didn't call into question their impartiality.
It's basically a one-party media law enabling a one-party media authority to supervise the entire media spectrum and also to impose fines on virtually any media outlet.
In your view, is there an attempt by the Fidesz government to silence or make it difficult for opposition media to operate?
For one thing, the public service radio station and the public service television channel now provides news in a pro-Fidesz manner. That is, it's not really news, it is pro-government propaganda.
Are you concerned that there is a slide towards authoritarianism taking place in Hungary today?
Well, in my view, this seems to be the case. Governing party Fidesz can now control the media authority and through the media authority almost the entire media spectrum. But also there is a kind of self-censorship. This has some kind of a chilling effect on some of the media.
Peter Bajomi-Lazar of Oxford University speaking to me earlier.